The question, Mr. Senator, is if the bill is signed by the President and becomes a law, and if elected, are you amenable to amend that law to re-include shipping in the definition of public utility for purposes of reinstating the 60% Filipino ownership in shipping companies? Thank you.
Oh, well, the Senate bill that is amending that seeks to amend the Public Services Act is actually an attempt to rationalize all of the different functions, especially for our trade, and of course a very critical part that shipping plays in that, in all of its different forms. You rightly bring up, as a lawyer, bring up the possible constitutional conflict on the constitutional provision on the ownership by foreign corporations of local businesses. The way that the Senate bill gets around this is to define it as a critical infrastructure, shipping as a critical infrastructure. I do not know, perhaps the attorney, you could probably give us a better opinion than I could, but I do not know if that redefinition is going to be allowed by the Supreme Court in the vis-a-vis the provision in the Constitution that ownership must be ownership of all corporations that operate in the Philippines must be owned by a majority of Filipinos. And so I think that there is a better way to do it. I think that we have to re-examine that. That will require a constitutional amendment if we are going to proceed in that manner, and that will take a very long time, and it will be a very difficult process for the simple, as we have seen in the past, that any constitutional amendments have been struck down since the '87 Constitution. And so the Senate bill, as it stands and as it redefines the shipping industry as a critical infrastructure, will definitely come under a legislative test, rather a judicial test, and will be challenged, I'm sure. So I can see that the president may allow it, so as to just show that this is an effort that we are trying to do, so that because the problem is it's not only transportation, it's not only shipping, but it is also telecommunications, which may be 100% foreign owned. And that, I think, is going to be a very sensitive issue. We have always maintained that especially media companies should not be owned by foreigners, for the simple reason that then it will be a foreign agenda that will be pushed in our media, as we have seen in some of the other countries. So we have to be very, very careful. Nasama yung transportation kasi doon sa telecommunications. Sa palagay ko, that will be the most contentious issue that the Senate bill has, the Senate Bill 2064 will have to face. I do not know what the tendency of the president is right now, as to because it has already been passed on third reading. I think we will have to see what the president's opinion is going to be on this. But I think that we are still going to have to face some legal challenges to that Senate bill, and perhaps we can already come up with a better plan than a redefinition of transport and telecommunications as necessary infrastructure, because it is not actually, in very strict terms, infrastructure to begin with. Infrastructure is defined differently than transportation. So yes, although it is an attempt to free up and to be able to bring investment into our port system, to modernize our port system, so that perhaps we can finally achieve what we are hoping to achieve, to make the Philippines a logistical center, considering our strategic importance in terms of our geographical position. We have become a country of great interest, not only in the geopolitical scene because of the conflicts that we have in West Philippine Sea. And the conflicts we have in West Philippine Sea are very simply derived from the fact that we are in between the Pacific Ocean, and any shipping that comes out of the West Philippine Sea must come through some Philippine waters, and that is why we have become so important geopolitically. However, that although that is maybe makes it a bit more sensitive in the geopolitical terms, I think that in transport terms and the logistics terms, that is a very, very great advantage. Even when it comes to digital infrastructure coming into the Philippines and then going into the rest of ASEAN or the rest of Asia. So perhaps we can, instead of redefining transport as a critical infrastructure, perhaps we should have a program just to develop specifically the ports that we have in the Philippines. And there are many potentials here.